Hey all, Hipper here. So I've really been getting stuck into Tiny Tina's Wonderlands here lately, and it is a great game. And I mean, if you enjoy Borderlands or anything along those lines, you will absolutely love this game here. Now, I don't play it alone. I actually happen to play it in the same way I've played pretty much every Gearbox title in the last, well, more than 10 years, which includes Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, part of Borderlands 3. I never really got into that game, which I'll get into the reason for that later. And of course, that way is vertical split screen. And it's very, very easy to get started. Pretty much you don't have to do anything really. You just need two controllers, and then when the game starts, and you can also do this in the middle of the game, but then of course you'll have a huge difference in levels. So all you gotta do is pretty much just press A on the second controller and just acknowledge that pop-up there, and then you'll get a second character in the background. And once that happens, it's just a matter of saying play and new game. You can also continue with the leveled character here. Like for example here I have a highly leveled guy, and then there's a complete blank one in the back. It doesn't work very well. You kind of have to follow each other if you're gonna play split screen. Otherwise one will be much more powerful than the other. But like I said, very, very simple, and choose relaxed, and I recommend cooperation loot, so you don't have to fight each other over loot. You each set up your player pretty much exactly like you do when you play solo. You choose your class, you choose all your the details about how you look and your armor, patterns, and all sorts of things. It's very intuitive, and it happens exactly the same way as you do this when you play solo. So there's really nothing to get used to or remember or anything like that when you play split screen. So in split screen, the game starts out with pretty much the same tutorial level that you get when you play solo as well. So there's nothing really missing there. You're not, just getting thrown into the action. The pop-up notice boxes here are quite annoying actually, because they block a bit of the view here and should probably have put a different spot. But hopefully Gearbox will fix that at some point. And like I said before, I pick cooperation loot, meaning that each player will have their instanced version of the loot, so it's impossible to steal from each other. I just think it works better, and it's just you have the time you need to study the weapons, and you will need to do that unfortunately, because split screen, probably the one bad thing about this is that especially weapon and equipment comparison is a little bit tedious and annoying. It's not as bad as Borderlands 3, because at least you can actually see the text here. The text size is nice and big, and as you can tell, there's no slowdown when one player enters the menu interface and goes to their stuff. And that was a really annoying part of Borderlands 3, that the frame rate would really take a nosedive when that happened. The same thing has been fixed for vending machines. I don't know if you remember in Borderlands 3, but if one player started to use a vending machine, the gameplay would really slow down for the other player if that player was doing something else at the same time. And that's not the case. That has been fixed here, and that is wonderful, because that was one of the most annoying things about Borderlands 3. Another annoying thing about Borderlands 3 that has also been fixed in Wonderlands is the fact that you could not play vertical split screen out of the box. It came with a patch, I think about a year later or something like that, and that's just unforgivable, because vertical split screen is the way to play Wonderlands, or Borderlands for that matter. And not having that available on day one meant that Borderlands 3 just wasn't as interesting for me and my co-op partner, and we never actually finished the game. And that's from a couple who has finished Borderlands 2 more than a dozen times in co-op. It just ruined the whole thing for us. So it's a wonderful thing that Wonderlands has remembered to make this a feature at launch, and Just the fact that you have split screen in a AAA title like this is almost unheard of. It doesn't happen a lot anymore. And I love that Gearbox keeps doing this. And if you watched my earlier video, you know that the game actually supports up to 4 players split screen, which works fine. Like, I prefer 2 like this, because you still keep everything at a reasonable size, and the performance is also great. I'm playing this at resolution mode, and with 2 players it's fine. Yes, the frame rate is a little bit lower, and if you really want that smooth experience, you can turn it down to performance mode, and you'll get slightly worse resolution, but the frame rate will be buttery smooth even with 2 players here, and lots of stuff going on the screen. The only real issue here in split screen is the fact that it's very, very difficult to compare your loot. Like, you'll have to go through it and you'll have to examine every bit of loot, because you can't even see what type of weapon you're picking up. You just have to know from pretty much from the picture, and sometimes that can be hard. An SMG can look like a rocket launcher sometimes. It's really hard sometimes. So that's a downside. There was also a downside in Borderlands 3. It wasn't a downside in Borderlands 2 for some reason, so I don't know why they can't just do that, what they did in that game. So anyway, that's the bad part. The good part, of course, is that split screen multiplayer is as fun as it has always been. I mean, there's nothing better than playing Gearbox, Borderlands, Wonderlands with a good friend on the couch in split screen, and or a few good friends if you want. It just makes the game so much more enjoyable. And once you're in the overworld, it's the same thing. You're split screen, and of course you can only do 1 quest at a time, but you can, both of you, run around and doing random stuff. So in conclusion, I highly recommend that if you play this game in split screen, you play it with a maximum of 2 players, and that you pick vertical split screen, because on widescreen televisions, I think that just works better, and you get a better frame rate than you do with horizontal split screen. And other than that, well, enjoy Wonderlands. I'm telling you, it is a great game, and it's a very, very long game, and you will have an absolute blast playing this game in split screen. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I'll see you out there.